How's it going, everybody? This is Rob Novakast back with another video, and I'm a little bit late to the party, but that's okay. I'm gonna give my thoughts on this, and honestly, I'm really excited to talk about it. So, Stranger Things, Season 4, Part 1. Now, initially, especially with how late it was, I was going to consider doing just one video for Part 1 and Part 2, but I figured, what the heck, let's do, or at least talk about the first 7 episodes of Season 4, and go from there when, Part 2 comes out, which apparently, with the last couple of episodes, they're going to be over an hour, or longer than that. I've heard between an hour and a half to 2 hours for one video, which is crazy. But regardless, I will say that to an extent, going into the initial review, the team that created Stranger Things kind of really stepped up their game in this. If there's one thing I can truly say that is really good in this, is the initial horror theme. I mean, there was this sort of horror aspect to Stranger Things always, when it came down to first dealing with the Demogorgon, then dealing with the Mind Flayer, and then dealing with the repeat of the Mind Flayer, and now dealing with what could be considered, I'm not gonna lie, be considered Freddy Krueger-esque as the Vecna, but all in all, it's pretty cool. Now, throughout the 7 episodes, I will say that we have 4 different storylines that are kind of branched out from the beginning. We have Joy and Murray going after Hopper, who was kidnapped or taken, imprisoned by the Russians. We have basically everybody that was left at Hopkins dealing with a string of killings where certain individuals at random are their bodies are completely mutilated and broken, as well as their eyes seem to be pulled into their skull. And to the point, this is kind of causing some fear in the military, thinking that it might be L. So in that case, I guess to an extent that might add a 5th storyline, because to an extent you have the military who is now going after 11. We also have 11, who, after being arrested for basically beating a bully over the head with a skate, she is imprisoned, but furthermore is given the opportunity to get her powers back, but unfortunately has to deal with Brenner, or Dr. Brenner, the same doctor that was thought to be dead since Season 1. And then we have Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle. Basically, I will say kind of the weakest point of the show, trying to find Elle. Now, another thing too that also kind of goes into play throughout the show is around the time between the 80s, I believe it was the 80s and 90s, there was this sort of paranoia, or if anything, I would want to classify it as delusional self-paranoia of particular hobbies. But I guess to be more precise, Dungeons and Dragons. And for those who don't know, there was a time in history where, more and more kids wanted to, play role-playing games. And to an extent, certain groups were classifying it as devil worship. Which, again, that goes into play to an extent, where you have Will and Mike taking part in a group called the Hellfire Club, which is basically a group of teenagers that play D&D, and their leader, who ends up getting caught in the mess with the killings. And at that point, people looking at this particular individual and claiming him to be evil, and anybody associated with him to be evil, or devil worshippers, I should say. So yeah, we got that going on. We also have the crazy freaking jock character. It's not Billy. He's no Billy. He's no, I was gonna say Jonathan. But no, what I meant to say was Steve. This particular character, he seems at least the leader of the jocks, or the basketball team, whatever. He's bland. He's no Billy. He's no Steve, where to an extent those two characters kind of have a little bit more personality than this guy. He just seems like some high on ego, freaking, crazy violent guy. Especially when the violence actually does happen. It starts getting worse. To the point where, after he finds out his girlfriend, spoilers by the way, his girlfriend gets killed, he ends up, going after the leader of the Hellfire Club. Which, to an extent, I feel bad for the guy. Because, again, he gets caught up in all this. Now, if I were to give, if I were to talk about probably the strongest points of the show, it would have to be the villain, the new villain, the Vecna. It is probably, again, it is Freddy Krueger-esque with its abilities, where it, to an extent, uses your own insecurities against you and puts you in a sort of nightmare state before it kills you. But all in all, it is pretty cool. And apparently, as it's set up, there is a sort of emotional tie or connection from the Vecna and the basically upside down, to 11. More than we thought we knew when it came down to the first season. Because they expand on it a little bit more. As well as, seeing a little bit more of her backstory. But all in all, it's pretty good. And the last episode ends on the cliffhanger, which I'm a little bit upset about. Going over through the episodes, again, Will, Mike, Jonathan, and Argyle are probably the weakest point. We have Murray, and I'm forgetting her name already, Joy and Murray going after Hopper, which there is a touching moment with them reuniting. We have 11 going through this painful memories in this new experimental project to basically get her powers back, and eventually succeeding, but also unlocking some dark secrets about herself, as well as, previous events in her life. We have Nancy, Steve, and the rest of the people that were left at Hopkins, or Hawkins, I should say. I don't know why I put a P in there. But Hawkins, investigating the murders. So, all in all, really good starter of the season. I don't know why they split it up. I really don't. Me personally, I just feel it was kind of weird. If I would have to take a wild guess, if anything, so they would have a deadline, is mostly because they were trying to, maybe, if anything, 2 of the episodes were not finished, and they're trying their best to get everything, put together in a timely manner. But we'll see. I'm quite curious to see what happens in part 2. See how they, fight off the Vecna, considering, again, the sort of connection that this creature has with 11's past. But all in all, kind of curious to see if I've had my predictions already, but I'm quite curious to see what happens. So all in all, really good first part of the season, and looking forward to the next. Again, the next 2 episodes apparently are supposed to be really long, but all in all, go watch it if you guys haven't. With that though, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as checking our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Novakast signing off. Have a good one, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.